All right, everybody. You know what time it is. It is Wednesday. It is 8 p.m. nearly British Summer Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight, and that means it is time for more MRL racing action. It is time for Tier 2. And joining me for the action around Singapore, the Marina Bay Street Circuit, is none other than, of course, Mr. Unicorn. Unicorn, how you doing?
I am doing very well, thank you, Steve. Looking forward to this one. It's a very different circuit, Singapore, to Monza last week. So I'm looking forward to see how everyone adapts so quickly to this one. It's a long race, and that brings with it some challenges in and of itself. But there's some people feeling confident coming into this, so we'll see how they do.
That's right. It's a very interesting circuit. 23 turns, 5 kilometers, 3.146 miles, 3 DRS zones, and we'll just have to see how they do around 23 turns. And I'm hoping to see some rain today. We saw some rain in qualifying for the Americas Tier 2, which was on Monday evening. You can find that on the YouTube. But of course, I'd love to see some rain here for the Tier 2. We didn't get any for Tier 3 yesterday or the Americas. Round 16, the Singapore Grand Prix. Next week we go to Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix. Following that, Suzuka in Japan. Then the Circuit of the Americas for the United States. Mexico after that. Brazil, Abu Dhabi for the finale, round 22. Massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out on their website or on Instagram or any of their fantastic socials, but you can take the link on over to their website in the chat or via the panels down below. Check out their great lineup of sim racing rigs, motion sims. They have wheel stands, and they have a new lineup, I do believe, coming out very soon. So stay tuned for that. And more info can be found on their Twitter for that. Now, with that being said, Unicorn, it's time to get down into business. The standings for this Tier 2 grid. Azir still in lead of things, but I have to tell you, those Alfa Romeos have been looking quite good lately. I was speaking to Scars and Crampy before the race, and they said, well, I say they, but really realistically, Scars said we should be expecting the pair of the Alfa Romeos to be on the podium position in Singapore. So, ladies and gentlemen in the chat viewing along, look out for those Alfa Romeos today. Now, another driver who I know is extremely keen to be driving here in Singapore, loving the circuit, and even potential looking for some rain is Jake in that Red Bull 4th, his teammates 50 and 5th. We have John, Tuptus, Pavel, Henners, Max O'Connor rounding out 10 drivers here, as well as Hugh Sam, Eruption, Darian on the standings with Aliens, Lars, and XTXP. Rackety, we have Lil Shen, Alp, and Mark on the grid. Mark, what an unfortunate run of luck for Mark recently. He's had some strong drives, but fortunately yet to get that elusive points finish. Alfa Romeo, McLaren, Williams are your top three in the constructors at the minute. And with that being said, we're just about ready to go racing here around the Marina Bay Street Circuit. And, well, what do you think, Unicorn? You think we're going to get some rain today?
I think it's inevitable. I think that we get it at least once this week. So, like you said, not really having it in either race yesterday means that I think, in terms of probability, the likelihood that we get it here is, I think, pretty high. I think it's about a 45% chance. I think Stars was mentioning in the we've had 3 races here already. We had the America's Tier 2 as well. So I think there is a very good chance that we see at least some form of rain, whether it be qualifying, whether it be a full wet race, a wet to dry race, dry to wet. I think the rain will be present here in some capacity. At least I hope it will be. But we do have everyone. We do have all 20 drivers, 19 full time as well. So you'd love to see that. But we'll get everyone readied up and we'll get everyone ready to go racing here. But of course, the 18-minute qualifying will be happening before that. And it's pretty important around here, around Singapore. It's a fairly long lap time. There we go. 8 o'clock. Everyone readying up now.
Like to see everyone now getting things readied up in the lobby for this race, and 18 minutes of qualifying, 50% distance campaign, which brings us a 31 lap campaign here around. Longest race, if not one of the longest races on the calendar for the MRL this season. Spa being up there as well, but I think we might have a longer race in Singapore on our hands here.
Yeah, at least in
especially
terms of time, I think
if you
so.
get that wet dynamic.
Yeah, wet weather, safety cars, all of these things extend race times, durations. So I think it's very possible that this is or will be the longest race of the season. And, that makes it a fairly demanding track. Obviously, in real life, the heat is very demanding. It's dry here in qualifying. So no rain as of yet. I hope we get a, weather report coming through in the chat at some point. But at the moment, no rainfall on my screen, at least.
Made the mistake of failing to enable my own personal weather telemetry. So apologies for that on my end. I'll have to get that habit sorted out. I've only recently just been gifted that from Mr. Rutanius, helping me out to get set with my own weather telemetry. It's very convenient when I enable it. Now into the qualifying session, though. 18 minutes, the clock, and we have... Well, why don't you take us through who's on the grid today, Unicorn?
Yeah, like I said, 19 full-time drivers, 20 drivers. Max O'Connor right now atop the timing tower in the Mercedes. Mark behind him. Toptus in third. Azir, Larson, Scars, Eruption, Jake, Crampy, Rackety, XTXP, Alp, Pavel, Henners, Jean, Aliens, then Mammal, the only reserve here today in the Racing Point. Swifty, Husam, and Darian Alfie round out tonight's grid. 20 drivers here around Singapore. It's going to be very exciting. Engines are starting to fire up. Swifty's on his way out of the pits, as well as one of the Racing Points, who just gets out ahead of him there. I do believe that is Tuptus, and he will be first out of the pit lane.
There is a channel prediction going in the chat at the moment, and you can get your predictions in ahead of the finale of qualifying to see who will get pole position. The question is, will Tuptus secure a back-to-back pole position?
Well, it's going to be tricky. It's, always hard to maintain back-to-back poles, especially when Monza, Singapore, very different tracks. So if you're good at one, you're not necessarily good at the other. But at the same time, getting pole positions mean you've got a great lot of pace. You're very competitive in the grid. And we'll see whether Toptus here can secure that 2 in a row here in lead of things. And he's first out of the pit lane, so he's ready. Whether that's confidence or just eager to get out of the pit lane, we'll have to wait and see. But he is definitely excited to be here, it would seem.
Well, one thing with all of these drivers, if the drivers do their homework, there's already a lot of driving and racing to study here, as someone has been disqualified already here. Husam has evidently been disqualified from the session here, Unicorn. Blocking the pit lane.
Yeah, a bit weird. You see that one every day. And also, what strikes me there is that it's a pretty difficult pit lane to block because, well, it's very open. So there's not really any walls once the AI, relinquishes control back to the driver. So I'm not quite sure how he's done that. Maybe some sort of mistake, crashed it into the wall. You can see his car return off at the track, but very, very weird. Tuptus though, sorry. He has started his first flying lap of the session.
Azir with a close call there on the way out of the pit lane. That was a touch and go moment if I've ever seen one in a qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. Azir just gunning it to try and get into that offline section of circuit. Here we have Tuptus coming into turn 7. We're being told, of course, it is going to be a dry campaign for the Tier 2 Round 16 action, and I imagine it's a massive sigh of relief for the entirety of the grid.
Yeah, I think it'll be a sigh of relief, but I think Singapore is one of those races where a lot of people prepare for rain. So, ooh, Toptus, a big slide coming out of turn 11, part of that Singapore sling there, but he gets it corrected, and he's done it again there. He seems to be having a little bit of trouble putting the power down here. And he is coming off the back of a pole position and a race win, but right now, struggling a little bit, it would seem. on the streets here in Singapore. He comes through into the final sector, and we'll see how he can construct the rest of this lap.
Up to us now out of 21. Coming through the 22 and 23 penultimate and final turns here in Singapore. 134.746, and that's the first run on the soft compound tires we'll see in this session, and we'll just have to see how many runs we get early on in the session here. Singapore, one of those circuits where you can see a big differential in strategy on tires.
Well, that's a impressive time. Alp, a 134.7, but on the medium tires, so we're pretty happy with that one. We'll see where that lands him overall. Rampy, a 134.9 on the softs. For someone whose teammate expects him to be on the podium alongside him. Not quite where you want to be at this stage. Behind a medium runner. Scars is on a lap as well. He's in sector 3. There's a lot of drivers getting their initial times set down. A lot of invalidated runs as well, Strift, that I'm seeing. And there goes Scars. He just cuts the inside of turn 19 a little bit too much. And that could be a problem for him.
Bit of an issue there for Darian Alfie, a disconnect. Let's hopefully get him back in here before the end of qualifying. Scars, decent run, but yes, that invalidation. But we're going to see a number of drivers, I feel, invalidate here. Max O'Connor 4th, Rackety went 3rd quickest, and everyone in those 134s quite tight in those 134s right now, actually.
Yeah, very, very close. But that medium tire lap by Alp there is very, very impressive. I want to see, you know, where he lands himself with that, because that is strong. But you, at the same time, maybe these people on the softs going a little bit slower so that they can, if they decide that that's what they want to do, produce a medium lap that is faster if they want to start on that harder compounded tire. So I think a lot of people are just leaving options on the table for themselves.
Trying to find an active flyer to see if anyone's going to come through with a lap. It's pretty well all invalidations through the grid. Darian Alfie now getting himself back into the session. You love to see it. The Croatian driver over at Ferrari, currently no time set yet from him.
And I think we are. Everyone is settled. I don't think anyone's going for a lap time right now. No one's pushing. So I think it's just a little bit of calm before the storm, as it were.
10 minutes on our clock, and I think there might be an element of desync, but still not a lot of lap times on this timing tower. And Singapore, it's still a circuit where you can invalidate. Can be risky not having a banker. I know from experience, considering I blew it myself in America's Tier 1 yesterday.
Yeah, I think most people are gearing up for a medium time. I really do, because it seems too many drivers to have made the same mistake. So I think we're gonna wait for a flurry of medium times. I think everyone's gonna see where they land, and then they'll decide if they want to go out again for another soft run. But given the length of time it takes to get around this track just once, you've got to be pretty careful with how you construct this, because you want to be able to do another run if the medium run doesn't go to plan.
Tuss on an outlap right now just in front of Henners. Henners hasn't done anything yet. And the difference between these two drivers, of course, Tuss taking that win last week. Henners
Got into the wall.
I heard something. Was it Henners
Tuss
that went
just
into the
gone
wall?
into the wall.
It was Tuss, yes. So his wing, well, that outlap has now turned into an in-lap in a matter of seconds, and Henners is going to take us for a fresh flyer on the softs.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened to Tuptus there. Just seems like a lapse in concentration through 19. Just sort of didn't turn in enough or opened up too much coming out of the corner and just hit the wall on the left-hand side. Damaged his front wing. I think one of the Mercedes as well might have had a problem. Maybe eruption. But no damage, so I've just been letting people pass despite the fact that everyone's on outliers. But like you said, Henners, he's flying right now, coming down the first of many DRS straights. Now there's 3 on this track. There were only 2 before, but there is that new one down in sector 2. Henners flies now through turn 9, still on for a fairly strong, calm, composed lap time. Nothing too bad for him as he comes through the Singapore sling and through turn 11 into 12, and being very careful on the throttle here, tight to the inside of 13, and here we go down into the new second DRS zone on this track. The last one, of course, being the start-finish straight. Getting through there nicely. You can see all the road markings here. But it's the walls that most people will be worried about. They're fairly tight. Not quite as tight, maybe, as somewhere like Monaco or Vietnam. But here, still pretty close, especially as you come under the bridge here. Want to be very careful. Henners now through 2021. Navigating that very nicely, using all of the curb on the exit. You've got to be brave there. The wall closes quickly through the final corner, then turn 23, and it's Henners. A 134.6 puts in provisional pole ahead of his teammate who qualified on mediums and is now out on the softs. But it's not a fast lap from him. He's bashing the wall as well, so I think he might be coming in. He's got no visible damage, but it's a slow lap right now from Alp.
Mark getting a time on the board, a 35 flat from him on the softs, and a little bit of drama in the first turn here is who is that in the Red Bull on the way out? Jake does not appear to be on a run. He's definitely pulling off the throttle now as the Ferrari comes through. That's Pavel. Pavel on the run. He's in the Ferrari, and he's on the medium compound tires here.
Darian Alfie, a 134.6 for the Ferrari driver. Goes provisional pole. Can XCXP do anything about that? He can't. It's a 135.3, and that's on the medium compound of tire.
I've only just realized his name. XP. Larsen flying. Pavel flying. We have quite a few drivers now on what I would believe to be appropriate flying laps. Jump on with Pavel now. See if he's able to get near his teammate and Darian Alfie. Ooh. He runs it, and there's an invalidation that you don't want to be picking up when you're on the mediums.
Yeah, the AlphaTauris just did a little bit of a slipstream, Larsen, and of course marked that over in the AlphaTauris squad. Larsen right now flying on the mediums. His teammate on an in-lap on the softs. Again, making use of all of that exit curbing out of 21 through the final couple of corners. And there it is, a P5 for him, a 134.7. And on mediums, that's not too bad for him. Just 1,000th off of Tuptus's time. Being soft for the racing point.
One driver we haven't had a chance to really look in with, Azir. 12th on this timing board. We've got him coming through the sling on the mediums now. And he's the championship leader. Let's see what the Spaniard is able to do here. He's coming off of a very explosive race in the Endurance Series. Taking his race win on track in Spain after a very, very dramatic campaign.
Well, he's got tough competition. Crampy's just gone fast. It's a 134 flat. Tuptus goes faster though, 133.8. That's on the soft though. Crampy's time was on the mediums, and Crampy right now P2. The Spaniards' main rival right now, and you could include Scars in there as well because he's on a hot runner form in the other Alfa Romeo.
Here we
There
go.
comes the Deer through the final couple of corners.
P3.
Not good enough for Crampy, but still still a very strong time, and it's very close as well, shift between the two.
Checking back now to Scars, 13th on the board. No time set yet from the Alpha.
Again, he's just waited for these mediums, and it's a risky move. He's had a couple of invalidations already today. Whether they were deliberate or not, though, that's something we're yet to see. Here he comes. He invalidated through there last time out. Doesn't do it this time, so that leads you to believe that it might have been deliberate, or at least he wasn't paying full attention. Doesn't quite use all of the curving on the exit of 21, but here he comes, and there it is. Provisional pole of 133.6 on the mediums, and that is a strong time from the Alfa Romeo, and that's going to be a tough one to beat, especially on that yellow walled compound.
Swifty, the Red Bull, coming through very rapid indeed. Another medium runner into that top 5. Swifty at 34.448, and he will be thrilled about it, I imagine. Who can we find next on a run? Well, Mammal has just begun. He's over at Racing Point today, and we'll see what he's able to do. We saw him last week in the Red Bull. A little bit of drama between him and his full-time teammate that occasion in Jake. We saw some pressure applied from Angel and to Ascari. A little bit of late braking action and a bit of a tap between the two Red Bulls. Mammal in that Racing Point today, coming through the sling.
Yeah, not something you always see, particularly in between two cars with the same livery, but I know sometimes it just does happen. And like you said, there was a lot of pressure. Alp to the line, P2 at 133.8. That's again on soft compound tires, and that just goes to show the strength of Scars' lap, because he did that on the mediums. And you got Tuptus here, last week's pole sitter, Alp as well now on these soft compound tires, and they're unable to make a dent in Scars' time. The South African right now sitting head and shoulders above the rest of these drivers right now. Jake's on a flyer. I think he just rounded one out. It might have been invalid. I'm not quite sure what's happened to the Red Bull driver, but he's pushing again now regardless. And we'll see where he falls in this one. Mammal reserving today, 6th place at 134.3 coming out of him.
Yeah, Jake, I think he's just beginning his lap here. Swifty is into the pit lane, and he'll be finished, I imagine, for the session. Alien's on an out lap. He's just begun his flyer. We've had a disconnection. Jake.
Hey, Jake was flying.
I was just about to jump on board, and he has unfortunately been launched back into the pit lane due to a disconnection issue here. The Red Bull driver not likely to get a lap time in here.
Yeah,
that is not good. To see someone out like that is very, very unfortunate. I was on board with him. Nothing, untoward, and then just disappears straight to the pit lane. So not great news for the Red Bull camp. Rackety's flying in the final sector in the Renault, as is the Ferrari of Pavel. He goes 11th at 134.7. So knock Rackety down a place. We'll see where Rackety lands in all of this now. He's about to come through the final couple of corners. Jake rejoins, but it's still no time set for him. Rackety jumps to P8. A couple of tenths improved for him at 134.5. He's on the softs though. Who was that? The Mercedes of Eruption jumps into 4th place. So 134, bang on the dot. That's bad news for Crampy. Crampy been knocked down to 5th place right now. So a little bit of work to do if he wants to get there. Also interesting to note, Jeff, look how many laps Scars has done on that medium compound tire. Yeah, that's really interesting from Scars. I'm not entirely sure what his idea is here. Putting additional wear onto the tires. Especially around a track like Singapore, tire wear not exactly brilliant. So it's an interesting strategy. Checker flags now starting to appear for people. Darian Alfie up into P2 at 133.8 on the soft compound tires. Someone looking to threaten that lap time is Tuptus, but he's down through the first sector. We'll see what he can do with the rest of the lap, but 300th down through the first sector is not what you want to be doing. Yeah, very, very tight first margin there. We'll see how he goes through the sling sector 2. And this could be a potential threatening lap for Pole if he's able to ramp it up through these final 2 sectors. But he will be on those soft compound tires. Let's see now. He is not improving on this lap right now, Unicorn.
Yeah, Hennes isn't either, so he's currently situated in P13. We'll see what the McLaren driver can do. There was a point where the 2 McLarens were 1 and 2. Hennes a big slide coming out of 21 and hits the wall. Damage on that front wing, and well, if there was ever a call whether to end that lap out or not, it's going to be a big no for him. Here comes Topsis, though, through the final corner. Where can he land himself?
Well, where did he get that?
33.3. And considering he was down in the first, I think, 2 sectors, that is an absolutely monstrous 3rd sector.
Where on earth?
Imagine what that lap time could have been.
Where on earth did he find it, though? I was certain. I was near certain that he was not going to improve on that lap, and he was down 2/10 on his previous best. He moves into sector 3. Ladies and gentlemen, and suddenly half a second happened to present itself. Tuptus, the Racing Point on pole position. Scars will line up on the front row next to him with Darian Alfie in the Ferrari. Rounding out this qualifying. What a lap to finish out the session. But I have to say, all eyes right now, ladies and gentlemen, on the Alfa Romeo. Scars, the South African driver, Unicorn, a 33.380 on the medium compound tires. He'll be starting this race on the yellow rimmed rubber.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Toptus. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. You've got to love it when someone like Toptus comes in. He's not been here for very long here, but he's come in like a grenade. It just exploded onto the scene. He won last race from pole, and now pole position again. We'll see whether he can convert it to another race win. Scars in P2, though. Very fast time on the mediums, but he's put a lot of laps on them, so there's a lot of tire wear there for him to contend with. Darian Alfie P3, Alp as well in P4, both on the softs. Then Eruption rounds out the top 5 on mediums, as well as Crampy P6 and the other Alfa Romeo. Wow, what an end to that qualifying. What a lap. There's 2 monstrous laps there. Tuptus with that sector 3 on the softs, and Scars his lap in general on that medium compound. That is crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, this is MRL Tier 2 action here at Singapore. The 4th race here we've had so far this week, with America's Tier 1 and 2, as well as, of course, Tier 3. Tomorrow, Tier 1 will be here, same time, same place on the Twitch. But, of course, right now, Tier 2 action here, ready and raring to go. 20 drivers here, 19 full times, so a lot of points on the table and a lot of people hungry to score them. Thank you all for tuning in, watching along at home, and a big shout out as always to our partners, Next Level Racing. If you're looking for a sim racing rig, motion platform, wheel stand, that kind of thing, check them out in the link in the chat or the panels down below. A big shout out to Matt with the Prime subscription. Shout out to him and appreciate the support. As always, prediction is in the chat as to whether Tuptus will win from pole for the 2nd week in a row, but we're loading in. The countdown timer has ended and the formation lap is ready to get underway.
Well, this start going to be absolutely crucial. We saw yesterday in Tier 3 what can happen on a race start here in Singapore, and things can get ugly very quickly in Singapore. It still is a street circuit. It's tight. You need to make sure you are watching where you're at with the driver next to you, especially on the race start. Now, only 3 drivers are going to be on the softs at the race start, and of course, those will be Tuptus, Darian Alfie, and Alp tires they qualified on. And you can see such a differential through the field between the hard and medium. Majority of the drivers in the top 10 on that medium tire that they qualified on, and then you have a lot of the drivers outside of that top 10 opting for the harder compound tire.
Yeah, the hards, very, very good tire to start on around here just because of the tire life. And you can see there on screen, or at least I can, the game's saying it's a two-stop, a soft medium, medium, or soft medium hard. The tire wear around here is extraordinarily high in comparison to the other tracks, and that's why so many people there have started on the mediums in the top 10. Outside of the top 10, a couple of people trying, Hugh Sam in 20th place, just want a little bit of extra pace in that earlier stage compared to the drivers ahead to try and gain some places off of the start and in those opening few laps. But the hard runners, they could really come into this at the end. In particular, Max O'Connor starting P11. If he has a clean start and can get through this, he could be very dangerous for all of those mediums and, of course, the soft runners ahead of him. But the soft runners, Tuptus, with the pace he's got around here, could he make a soft medium work? A two-stop? It's really rare that you see one work here in 50% league races, particularly when it's dry. Obviously, when it's wet, it's a little bit different, and with safety cars, etc. But in just terms of raw strategy, soft, medium. Can he make it work? He starts softs ahead of Scars. Darian Alfie and Alp as well on the softs. Eruption 5th. Crampy, Azir, Jean, Mammal, Swifty round out the top 10, all on mediums. Max O'Connor, the hard tires for him. Rackety and XCXP in the two Renaults, 12th and 13th. Henners, Larsen on the hards in 14th, 15th. Pavel on the hards. Aliens, Mark, Jake all on the hards. And Hugh Sam rounds out this grid on the medium compounder tires. But with that drift, the last few cars around in the last couple of corners. And Tier 2 is just about ready to get going here.
Season 4, Round 16, Tier 2 Division Racing action. We're here, the Marina Bay Street Circuit. My name's Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn. And now that Hugh Sam is here, you can see the lights coming on. 4, 5 red lights here. The drivers now getting ready to go as we have a little bit of desync. And here we go racing. Tuptus off the line here. You can see Alp with an absolute launch on the outside of Scars into turn 1. Alp gonna get this move already. A little bit of wheel banging just here in 4th position with Darian and Eruption. End plates coming off as we come through turns 2 and 3. And we are away racing here in Singapore as Tuptus, Alp, and Scars your top 3. Darian 4th, Crampy moving through, getting ahead of Eruption. Wheel to wheel between these two as we come down into the left-hander. Right behind them, the Haas of Jean and Azir battling. Crampy, Eruption still wheel to wheel. Crampy just trying to hold tight now. The space is being left. What a wheel to wheel battle on the start of this race we're seeing here. Jean and Azir as well have exchanged. And there's exchanging all through this grid, Unicorn.
Yeah, very dramatic start. Like you said, a couple of end plates I think came off, but mostly a very clean start to this race. And now, everyone's settling in. Not too many positions. No huge winners, no huge losers. The biggest position gained, Hugh Sam from rear of this grid gets up 3 places. Aliens, Jake, they're exchanging. They're on the hard. So I think the mediums there providing a little bit of a better start, of course, for the Haas driver in Hugh Sam. But a very clean race start for the most part. Things starting to space itself out already at the top end of things. The front 4 starting to claw away with it. Darian Alfie as well dropping off of Scars. So he might find himself a little bit alone in the middle stage of this race. But he is on those soft combat tires. So he needs to sort of stay as close to the runners as he can. Swifty, he's had a problem. The Red Bull driver drops all the way down to the back. And considering his teammate didn't get a flying lap in, that's going to be a problem for him. Eruption, Crampy down into turn 1. Side by side, Crampy. It appears he's one of the people who lost an end plate in that first lap. Down here in through turns 2 and 3. And there he goes. The Mercedes past the Alfa Romeo driver. Crampy, he might become a little bit of a cork in the bottle, particularly in this train, as he's got that end plate damage. And here, where downforce is so critical with these, tricky corners, he's going to lose out a lot of time as a result of that damage, Striff.
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing with that right now is he's still holding on to Eruption. Eruption right now, nearly 2 seconds on the rear of Darian Alfie on those softs. You have Jean with a clean wing in that Haas, hunting him down for position. Azir wanting to get through. It's just going to be a big train behind Eruption until Crampy drops off of Eruption and maybe gives Eruption a little bit of a chance to break away. We'll have to see how quick Jean can deal with them. Meanwhile, Alp, Scars on his rear. Darian on those softs, bringing himself into DRS range as we just about get into lap 3. And it is a very long race here, 31 laps, and everyone's just going to have to buckle up. Strategies are at play. No VSCs right now, no safety cars on lap 2, and it's been a very clean race start so far. Just a couple of nicks. Oh, aliens! He's gone deep just ahead of the underpass under the grandstand. Jake's going to get him. Checking for damage right now. Yes, front right is damaged. He's on his way into the pit lane. Oh, and he's overshot it, nearly collecting Mark there. Alp under threat. Alp gonna start to feel the effects of the softs very quickly here. And Darian, he's gonna want to make sure he gets into range to try and do something about all of the work that Alp's been doing to keep Scars at bay.
Jean becomes the next person to pass Crampy, although Crampy looking like he might want to defend it, and he does defend it. And he gets that move back done as they come through into turn 8. So despite the damage, he's still clinging on, and he's doing great work. You know, he is still, you know, dropping time. But the fact that he's holding them back, apart from Eruption, who's managed to get ahead, because of the DRS on the soft runners, Scars is so much further ahead than any of the other medium runners. And this is brilliant news for him. He's, you know, he's got a gap to Alp behind, so Alp doesn't have DRS on him. Obviously, Tuptus was able to get a gap at the start with that incredible pace and those soft tires. So he is out on the front right now, flying away with it. But Scars on these mediums is in a very, very interesting position and a very strong position, with particularly with Crampy slowing down the rest of the field and all the people on the mediums, on the hards, behind that damaged Alfa Romeo. So whilst it may be tricky to see a double Alfa Romeo podium,
XTXP Henners wheel to wheel through sector 3 right now. Husam looking for an opportunity on Henners around the outside. There's a VSC deployed.
Swifty and Mark came together, I think. Swifty's carrying Mark's front wing.
Alp's on the way into the pit lane here. Mark, well, that's not going to be good for him. You can see there the front wing fully off that AlphaTauri. And this is going to shake things up, as this was pretty well coming through sector 3. A couple of drivers now into the pit lane. Crampy is going to get that wing taken care of. Alp, Crampy, both onto the hards. Mark on the hards right now, I imagine going to jump onto a set of mediums. Back to green flag racing. Henner's still under threat from Husam. The battle that was going on between the Renault, McLaren, and Haas has not let up. Here goes Husam to the inside. A lunge from him. Henner's holding with everything he's got, keeping things intact now around the outside for the Haas. Ooh, tight racing, neat racing. And that's Husam into 12th position.
Yeah, I think that VSC, it's going to be tricky for Darian Alfie to combat Alp's pit stop there, because obviously he's going to have a little bit of benefit because of that VSC slowing down one of Darian's laps on these soft compound tires, and we're already going to start to see them start to be at a bit of a deficit to the mediums. You can see how much he's dropped off of Scars, and Eruption now is catching him pretty rapidly.
Ooh, Henners with a neat little switch move to the inside, trying to get a move back on Husam. Husam, Henners fighting with clean wings and a bit of a tire differential here, with Larson really peeking at the gearbox of the McLaren. Henners needs to keep it tight or he might lose an additional position, not just the one he lost earlier to Husam. Abel.
Yeah, big problem for him. I don't know. I assume he's hit the wall coming out of 21. He's got big damage on that front wing, and into the pit lane he comes. Rackety, Max O'Connor, they exchange through the opening few corners. And Eruption now putting Darian Alfie under a big haul of pressure as they come down the first DRS straight down towards turn 7. Darian Alfie closes off the inside line, but look at the traction the mediums have got here. Darian Alfie, defending with everything he's got and stays ahead in P3 right now, but this is just slowing them both down. Eruption chasing Scars. Darian just hoping to try and beat Alp's pit stop, but with the overcut, I don't think it's going to work for him. Lars and Henners, they're exchanging now as well as they come through sector 2. It's Larson on the inside of Henners, and Jake is all over the rear of this as well. He'll be there to pick up the pieces should something go wrong between the two of them, but it's still Henners in P12 right now, and he's lost a lot of time to Husam since that battle fizzled out. But All still clean here for the time being. Eruption not able to get Darian Alfie down the second of the three DRS straights. He's hanging on there in P4.
Tuptus under serious threat now from Scars. Scars, of course, qualifying in second position on these medium compound tires. Really going to be sitting in the rearview mirror of the Racing Point as those softs continue to degrade. We come through now into lap 6. DRS wide open on the rear. And he'll just continue to gain and gain as best he can as Darian Alfie will make his way into the pit lane. And he says it's time. The softs are done. So Tuptus now will be one of the last runners on these softs. Well, the last runner on the softs to be precise. And here goes Scars. Is this the opportunity? Is this the time?
Well, I'm about to find out. Looking for it around the outside. And the traction there for the mediums a little bit better, but it's still side by side as they come into turn 8. But Scars, he has got that move done. Tuptus now. I would be surprised if he didn't follow Darian Alfie into the pit lane. Darian gets up behind Alp, and is there a problem between Hennes and Larson? No, it's USAM. USAM's pacing the wrong way.
That's bad news. Jake right now looking for the inside on Henners, squeezed off there as Henners trying to fight Larson for the final points paying position. 10th is up for grabs, and all of these sharks, or well in Jake's case bulls, can see red.
And Hennes does seem to be struggling right now. Larson putting a bit of a gap between him and the Brit, and Jake had a look. He had a look up into turn 13. Not going to happen, but it would have been a bold move had he pulled that one off.
A little bit of separation forming right now in the grid. Everyone's starting to dance in and around that DRS range, but things are still tight for this final points paying position as tire strategies are starting to separate drivers. We'll see what happens when the pit stops start flowing through. Of course, it's a 31 lap campaign here, and we're just about to cross ourselves into, well, we have crossed ourselves into lap 7. Scars in a very, very strong position right now. I think he's got this win, barring any mistakes or issues.
Yeah, interesting to see where Tuptus will come out. He should be ahead of Alp and Darian. Or at least he'll hope to be. And it looks like he is. So he hasn't had any troubles there. The softs did do their job, but look how far he is behind the rest of this grid. He has got some serious work to do now on these mediums, and it looks like he might be going for the soft medium.
What's happening
Maybe
now?
hoping for a safety
Aliens.
car. It's a Williams. Aliens.
Oh, that is an issue for Aliens in the wall. Debris there. He's waiting for drivers to move through. And I imagine that won't be a safety car or anything like this. Mark took a 3-second. Coming out of turn 23 there. Bad luck for Aliens in the Williams right now. His teammate Azir, on the other hand, still doing... Wait a minute. Aliens into the pit wall. And that's his race done.
Well, I was going to say he's lucky not to have retired from the incident, but retires it anyway. He's a long way off this grid right now, but there's still plenty of laps for a safety car. This race is far from over, but he's called it quits there for the Williams, and he becomes the first retirement of the race. Jake still close to there of Hennes, who's just clinging to DRS of Larson, but he's got to be careful here. He might lose it if he's not within a second coming out of 21 here, which he's not. He should have lost it. The DRS detection point is just here, and I don't think he's going to have DRS. This could make him a sitting duck, if not into turn 1, into turn 7. Let's see, does Jake go for the move here? No, he doesn't. He's going to bide his time in that Red Bull. He's sat behind Hennes for quite some time now. He's not going to waste it all in one impatient move. He's going to have a great run here, though, as they come through into turn 5. Onto this straight, separated by turn 6, of course, the fast right-hander. Hennes defending the inside. Here goes Jake. Look at the speed difference. ERS, DRS, swoops past the McLaren for 10th place and that final point.
Not a lot that Hennes has to, like, he can't defend that. The DRS so powerful into that section of track. It's such a long straight, the longest of the DRS zones on offer here around Singapore, and it was just a neat move from Jake there. And Jake not having the best opportunity in qualifying. He had that issue preventing him from getting that lap in that he wanted, and he's in 10th position. He's doing a good job to recover himself some potential points.
Speaking of recovery, Hugh Sam, we saw him and Hennes battling a while ago, but obviously he had a little spin. He's caught back up to the McLaren, who still seems to be struggling for pace. He's already 1.1 seconds off of the back of Jake. I do think he does have some damage. It may not be visible, but I think he's got some sort of damage there.
Penalties starting to come through for a few drivers now as we get a little bit deeper into the race. We're just about at the third of the way through point now. Jake, Henners, we have Mark, all at 3 seconds. You can see Alp, he took 6 total now. Crampy and Swifty, 5 seconds the pair of them, and that won't be good coming into the end of this race. Uptus setting the fastest lap of the campaign thus far at 38.372 out of the Racing Point. Very nice from him.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying right now. He is catching Hugh Sam and Henners rapidly. And with the way this grid is spaced out, here goes Hugh Sam on Henners. Speaking of the pair, Hugh Sam, not a lot again Henners can do. And he looks to try and regain the place through turn 7. If there was a window, there wasn't one. But look at the gap to Tuptus. It was about 3 seconds when they crossed the line onto lap 9. It's now 2 seconds. So he has caught about a second in half a lap. He is absolutely flying on those fresh mediums. And Henners is going to be just... There's going to be nothing he can do to stop this Racing Point coming past.
Another driver who might be under serious threat here is Lars, and we were talking about Jake a moment ago. Here goes the DRS, a fantastic exit for the Red Bull, and he just breezes by the AlphaTauri, the sister car, and very nice move there from Jake.
Yeah, Larsen now well within striking distance of Henners. He's comfortably in DRS, and he might even be able to get this move done into turn 1 with the pace advantage that he's got and the speed that he will have coming out of the final couple of corners.
Yeah,
a little bit of a slide coming out of 21.
Such a strong
Here he
position.
goes. Looking for it, and look at the run. Nothing Henners can do.
Up to us, what a move. Just clean, waving bye-bye. Henners knows he's got the tires, and there's really nothing when you have that DRS and you're just... Why bother, right? He's on a longer stint here with these hards.
Yeah, Tuptus would have been, you know, if he'd have managed to get just a little bit closer to Hugh Sam and get DRS down, hit that straight there, he'd have been in such a better position right now. Now, like, you can see how quickly he's closing without it. He pushed a little bit with ERS as a result of not having the drag reduction system available to him. But he is still catching quickly to that Haas. And he is going to start tearing a lot of this grid apart. But he has to pit again. Taking it to the end would be near impossible. So he's either praying for a safety car or he thinks the soft medium is the fastest strategy. Hugh Sam goes to the outside. I don't even think he's trying to defend that move. He's just letting the Racing Point by.
He did a little wave, you know, just a, hey, maybe I can spook him into you know, waiting a moment. Carried through sector 3. Tuptus says, no, I'm going to go through on the inside with everything that I've got right now and get this move done as quickly as possible to move through this grid. John, first of these front medium runners to jump into the pit lane. I wonder why. I feel as though this is early. Just a touch early, maybe a couple laps early here. But John will be the first of those runners to go onto the hard tires.
Maybe try to source an undercut. Seems not unlikely, but we'll see if it works for him. He's not going to be put out in clean air. He's going to be just behind Crampy in that Alfa Romeo. So he's not going to have a clean air to run in. And he will have DRS to make his outlap a little bit quicker, maybe. Actually, no, he won't, because he's going to be too far behind Crampy here to get that. He might be able to close if he's got tire advantage. 6 laps old hard, so they shouldn't be feeling too bad for Crampy. So it seems a little bit questionable. Tuptus now Next on the chopping block for him is Larson. 10-lap hold hard, so he won't be into the pits for quite some time. But it's up to us. He will have DRS down, of course, into turn 14.
Ooh,
Oh my goodness, he gave him a little tap through 13.
Yeah, he wants that inside. He wants everything, and he wants it now. Up to us now, going to go on the inside here. Larson on the outside. Yeah, Tuptus just moving on through.
Very, very nice from him, and he'll keep pushing. And he has to, because he, like we've said before, has to do another stop before the end of this one. There is no way he's taking those mediums to the end.
First leader now.
Scars eruption.
Yeah, Scars is in. Azir Mammal moving into first and second here. Rackety going to follow through into third. Now I love to see a safety car to really shake it up. That would be something else here in this one. But the separation on grid not too tight at the minute to really present any battles for safety car, you know, potential.
Well, Rackety, Max O'Connor, they're not too far apart. Max O'Connor on the hards. They'll be taking advantage of the crossover point here. You know, we've already seen a few medium runners getting off of those yellow walled compounds that they started that race on. So a lot of these guys, remember, would have done qualifying laps on these mediums, so that's not making them even worse. Obviously, you can take a set of mediums a little bit longer than 11, 12 laps, but when you've done a few laps of qualifying on them as well, they will be starting to feel pretty awful as they come through into nearing the mid part of the range. Max O'Connor struggling a little bit in the dirty air of Rackety, but as they come through turn 13, we'll see. Can he get the move? I don't think he's got the exit there. He needed a better exit if he wants to move into 14, so he won't have it. It's a pretty short DRS zone. Good enough if you've got the better exit, but he didn't, so still P4 for the Mercedes. But that'll all change if Rackety hops into the pit lane.
Jake now getting himself involved, catching himself in, and we've got more penalties coming through. You take a look, Azir picked up a 3, and that's not going to be good for him at all in this race. Rackety on the way in behind Mammal.
And something else I want to point out, Striff, is the gap that isn't exactly huge between Tuptus and Scars. Tuptus has to come in again, and now you've got Scars, who is about 10 seconds-ish behind, and that's not exactly a long time considering that he's got a pit stop that he doesn't need to have. Jean, a disconnection. Fingers crossed he can get in control of that Haas quickly.
Jake gets the move on Max. Max looks back forward around the outside, but Jake, a really good carry of speed, getting through. Tuptus on the rear of this in the Racing Point is going to be thrilled, because these two, as they continue to battle, he wants to get ahead. Look at this on the inside into the sling. He gets on the brakes earlier. He had a little bit more patience this time. Coming through into that section, Max holds on to third. And, oof, that one, that could have gone a couple of different ways.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be risking moves like that. He knows that he's backed out. If it had worked, it would have been beautiful, and it would have been beneficial as well, because obviously clearing traffic as quickly as possible is sort of his main objective here. But Scars is not far behind at all. And given that Tuptus has already put 5 laps in on these mediums, it's not going to be too long until we start to see a switch eruption. He's got past Darian Alfie. A little bit of a tire difference there, but nothing too major. The Mercedes just sneaking past the Ferrari driver, though. Who is that? Larson's had a problem. Larson, he's just had to go into the wall there to get out of the way here. I think he'd already lost the front wing, though. You can see there, a few drivers just coming through past the AlphaTauri.
Very unfortunate for Larson in that AlphaTauri. A significant amount of wing damage there on that car, and he'll make his way into the pit lane. No safety car, no VSC.
Flying past around the outside of 6. And there is nothing Max O'Connor could do to defend P2. Yeah, like you were saying, Striff, no safety car, no VSC. But it would change things up here quite significantly if we saw one.
Well, you and I we've done a couple races in our time now, and it's definitely not unheard of. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I think you can get one here as well. You know, we've seen a few incidents that you could say we've had a VSC. Actually, we did have one at the very start, about lap 3. I want to say Hennes gets past Swifty for P60, but you know, someone just needs to lose it in the wrong place, hit the walls a bit too hard, and then, you know, surprise safety car out of nowhere. This is the kind of track where, you know, wheel-to-wheel battles can easily cause a safety car, but mistakes as well, because of, you know, the nature of the circuit being a street track. If you crash in the wrong place, there's no runoff in a lot of these places. So in some cases, you have to just force a safety car in terms of the, you know, force the game's hand in the safety car, because there's no runoff for a car to go if it crashes. So
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a very tight circuit, not a lot of runoff, not a lot of places to really drag a car, and that's what you have to look for when you're looking for these safety cars. And right now, switch our view and our focus on over to the lead of this race as Jake right now. Well, he is leading the race, and now Tuptus says, I'd like to take lead at things. That Racing Point with a neat move, a little bit tight coming through the turn, but big tire differential, and Tuptus now in the lead of this race on the 7-lap-old medium set.
Yeah, it's not worked out perfectly though for the Racing Point. He's lost a bit of time to Scars, I think, in getting past that traffic, and it was about 10 seconds the gap. Now it's more like 8.5. So Scars seems to be catching lead of this race pretty quickly, and given the fact that Tuptus has to pit again, it's going to be a difficult podium for Tuptus. He will be faster in the later stages of the race on the mediums, which is what I assume he will go for, and it won't be long really until we see him come in, I think.
Scars coming into this. Scars came into this with a confidence that I have not seen from him in this entire season. He's had confidence, but he came to me, well, in all reality, I hadn't heard from him. I was getting worried. Normally I hear something from him. He's got some kind of little snippet for me, you know, to add some fire to the broadcast. But this week, dead silent, Unicorn. And today I sent him a message, predictions. And he thinks that the Alphas are strong enough. At the very least, he has the confidence to get himself into a win today. And he is doing a very good job right now. A very consistent drive. What's happened? We have a yellow through Sector 3. What's happened? Pavel, he's off just before the underpass under the grandstand there. And, well, he is back going. It looks like he just went deep. No debris, no damage.
I think he did that in qualifying as well, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't mention anything there because I thought he may be just getting out of the way, but it's the second time I've seen him go off there with no damage. So I don't know if he's, you know, running no line and is just missing his braking point or whatnot, but very unusual to see someone do that twice in the same race. XCXP loses out to Hugh Sam for P13.
Yeah, I was checking in with Azir there, looking quite tight to the rear on John and the Haas. A little bit of a tire differential here, not massive, but these drivers fighting for points. Azir holding on to a 3-second time penalty.
Tell you someone who else, Striff, there's a couple of good drivers having, you know, great drives right now. Good Eruption. He's really putting pressure on Alp right now for what is net P2 in this race. And that is quite impressive for the Mercedes driver. He'll be happy with that one. But Krempy as well, given the poor start he had in this race, the fact that he's running in 8th right now, he might even be able to turn his tires to the end. Or, depending on a safety car, get in for a nice, you know, pit stop with a lesser cost in terms of track position. We'll see where he lands, but he's having a good recovery night now, given that he pitted under VSC earlier in the race.
Here goes Scars, the potential winner of this race. From our perspective, the net race leader at the very least, and right now he's looking to jump himself into the podium positions regardless of pit stops. Around the outside, which will of course become the inside as we come into turn 7. Neatly done, and power differential playing a role there. Max in a good position, but not as good as Scars right now. Azir getting that trigger pull done on John for 9th as well.
Yeah, Scars continues to impress in this race, picking up that P3. It's important for him to get that, Mercedes cleared quickly and of course cleanly as well. And of course no front wing damage on the Alfa Romeo leads him to just be able to continue his charge now. Bit of clean air. We're able to run down, chase down Jake. And Jake's having a strong race too, Striff. Considering he didn't get a lap time set in qualifying, given that disconnection, he's having a very, very strong recovery drive himself. So the Red Bull, he's got a lot to be proud of as well right now. But still, lap 17, we're just over halfway through here in Singapore. And there's still a lot of strategic plays to be made. But they're going to shuffle this grid all the way until the end of this race, I think.
Let's see at what point Eruption's able to really get this move done on Alp. Alp on that 12 lap old, now 13 lap old set of hards. Azir, Crampy, a little bit of a train forming on the rear of Darien, and it's so fun to see these tire strategies unfold. Really the only thing we've had in this race is that VSC. We're on lap 18, we're just crossing ourselves over that halfway point, just a touch. And like we mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, one of the longest campaigns, if not the longest campaign you'll get in this calendar. Pavel, Swifty's on his way into the pit lane, so Pavel will take 15th, and another host of positions will be lost for the Red Bull. But of course, with that being said, massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out. Well, if you haven't heard of Next Level Racing, you really should. They have an amazing lineup of sim racing rigs. They have light rigs, they have flight sim gear, motion sims, wheel stands, everything you really need to take your experience to the next level, whether you're a beginner or an extraordinarily experienced racer. And they're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They've even got a LinkedIn now, I've heard, so you can really get to them everywhere. But of course, check out that link in the chat and via the panels down below for some amazing gear. Crampy now doing some work. He's got it done on Darien. Azir now. Oh! That's not good. Crampy. He's gone around. Mammal doing some work, trying to push through with everything he's got under yellows at the minute. And we're going to see if anything comes as a result. Tuptus on his way into the pit lane. Oof, I don't know what to say about that.
Well, Darien damaged from that one. Crampy managed to get away scot-free. I don't think he'll be too happy though. He lost a lot of positions, of course, as a result of that big slide, but he manages to save his front wing. Darien into the pit lane. He was struggling for pace there, and then it just comes together with Crampy. Not really a strong point in his race, and with the front wing change, the tire change, all of that, it's going to drop him fairly substantially here. He comes out of the pits, out of the points. Alp Eruption, they exchange. Eruption up into P3 on the fresher hard compounds. It was, always going to happen given the tire differential there, but Eruption now hunting down Scars for P2. Tuptus, he came out impeding him charge through this grid once before on fresh mediums. Now he's got to do it all over again. I think he was banking on a VSC being spawned there, Striv. I think he would have come in around that time anyway, but I think a VSC there would have, really elevated his race and really helped him out.
I imagine there's so many drivers on this grid right now that are just, praying to the Codemasters, as it were, for a safety car. We've got our good man Yoda in the chat with a little bit of a monkey wrench there, saying that he forgot to fuel safety car today. You love those plays on what's happening in the race, and that's just a quick moment to take a second to shout all of you out viewing along in the stream. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to check out some racing. Jake into the pit lane now. Scars, what a race he's having, and Eruption now second position for him, 7.6 seconds on the rear of him, but on the same strategy. He's slated to have a solid finish here as Alp hunts him down on the older tires, but he does have a penalty.
Jake's come out not too far behind Tuptus. It's, a fairly substantial gap, but he's also on the fresh mediums, and he's not got bad pace. We've seen him have a pretty strong start on those hards. There's a lot of gaps though for him to close down, which might make it a little bit more difficult. Mammal, he's pretty tight to the rear of Jean. We'll see whether he can make this move. He's got slightly fresher tires on that racing point, reserving, of course. The only reserve on this grid today.
Sam with a lunge on the inside of Rackety, and he gets that move successfully into 10th position. Nicely done from him. Larsen now having a run on the inside of Pavel. He's easily through into 14th position, the AlphaTauri.
Crampy, he's been caught by Tuptus, and I don't think it'll be too long until we see the racing point get past the Alfa Romeo driver, and he might get it here as he goes down the inside into 14.
What a lunge.
Just sneaks past. A little bit late, but the tires, they allow him to do that. And that's exactly what he needs to do in these late stages of the race, Jeff. Just make these moves that are a little bit more aggressive than everyone else can manage on their, hard compound tires. Crampy's 15 laps old. I wonder if he's going to take those to the end of this race. I think he's going to have to now. But they're not going to feel good when he does.
That being the second time Tuptus has jumped onto a fresh set of mediums. A lot of confidence coming into that set of fresh rubber with that dive, and he really knows what he can do with those tires right now, and he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and that is just push through this field. Now, Tuptus on the rear of Mammal. Mammal in 6th position. That gap just dancing in and around 1 second. He will not have the DRS this time around, but he will very, very soon as Mammal hunts down Jean. And the closer these drivers bring themselves to scars overall on the grid, the better it is for Tuptus on the fresher rubber.
Absolutely, and if Alp does decide to pit, it's also been mentioned, penalties are over the front. Alp 6 seconds, Azir 3 seconds. Tuptus currently clean. He should be able to close into those windows. He's now got Mammal ahead of him, and he is absolutely rapid right now. He's already got the fastest lap and will pick up the point for that, provided no one else beats him. And here goes Mammal pulling off to the side. He may only be a reserve, but teammates for the evening, and they're getting some teamwork going there. Lets his faster teammate by. Tuptus now into P6, right on the rear of Jean. And Jean, he's up for a pretty strong result as well. 9-lap hold hards. He's in contention. Tuptus, there it is. 3 seconds. That's big.
That's massive, Unicorn. That is huge. That might have been a difference maker right there, should Tuptus catch scars at any rate.
Well, he's got to do a lot more work now. Look at the pace through the final 2 corners, though. Here he comes on Jean. And he's made that look as easy as you like down into turn 1. He may have picked up a penalty, but Jake steals fastest lap away from him as well. It's all falling apart for Tuptus, who is on a huge mission right now to try and steal away a podium in the late stages of this race. He can still do it, though.
Max O'Connor.
In fact, I think he will still do it.
Well, we got some overtaking happening right now. Actually, Jake on the inside will get ahead of Crampy. Flip back to Max as he looks for Rackety here.
Jake planning past Crampy. He's on a charge as well, and he's going to look to follow Tuptus through here on the fresh mediums. Henna's into the pit. He's onto the soft, so he's looking to steal fastest lap out of that point. He's looking to steal it, maybe just for the combined constructors. See what he's doing there, but
Been a solid race so far. We're on lap 22, and of course, thank you again, everybody tuning in and joining us in the chat. Of course, if you're new, this is one of many races that we have weekly here on the Misfits Racing League Twitch channel. Of course, you can hit that follow button. We'll be back here same time, same place here on twitch.tv MisfitsRL for the Tier 1 racing action around Singapore tomorrow. Of course, we have the APAC and the Formula 2 divisions both happening now on Sundays over on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, in Singapore, F2, that should be an interesting watch because the F2 allows for a lot of side-by-side where the F1 cars don't necessarily, accommodate for it. Azir now He's been having a fairly quiet
Ooh,
race. Caught
Jake
out.
coming through sector 1 on the rear of Mammal, and Jake really not gonna have the best relationship now, as it looks like Jake took off an end plate on the rear of the Racing Point. And this is something that we saw happen in Italy last week. These two coming together through into that Ascari chicane. We talked about it. Angel was there in a reserve capacity, and he had the front row seats and the popcorn to that issue, and that was when they were teammates over at Red Bull for the night.
Yeah, those two sort of becoming. When I saw that happen at Ascari last week, it really reminded me of Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen in Baku.
Yeah.
Now they've done it again. Like you said, they're not going to be best mates, I don't think, at the end of this season. Having two, incidents back to back. Mark drops to Hennes, and Hennes on a real charge. He goes up the inside of Swifty as well. And those softs doing a lot of work. City looks to try and come around the outside. Hennes, both experienced racers, just leaves enough space for the Red Bull on the outside.
Yeah, Mark's right here, looking for an opportunity to move through here, and he's tapped Swifty. Larson picks up a 3-second time penalty elsewhere. That's some damage for Mark, I think. An end plate on the front right, no longer attached to that wing.
Drift the battle for P3's on as well. Azier was catching Alp, but Toptus is on the rear of this now as well. The Williams swings to the inside, goes past through turn 6, way before turn 7. Toptus unable to get either driver, but he's right behind here. And Azier holding up Alp a little bit. They're not exactly fast on those hard tires. And Toptus, 4-lap all mediums. He needs to get past. He's got a penalty now to work with. There he goes, driving. What a drive out of turn 9. Well and truly up the inside into 10. Through the Singapore sling. He'll be happy to have got that one done. Azier now next in his sights. Azier, he's looking to try and find a podium, but it's going to be hard for the Spanish driver who's leading this championship. Who's that? Hennes. He's called it quits in the pit lane. He is out of this one. Azier leading this championship. Crampy right now. MP9. Penalties to his name. It's not going to be too many points for him. And as well, Scars P3 in the standings right now. He's been leading this race pretty much since it began, at least in terms of strategy, and now of course in terms of track position.
A lot of things unfolding on grid right now. Henner is with that retirement now leaving the session. We still have Tuptus hunting down Azier for this 3rd position as we come out of turn 23, leading into the 25th lap now. Here we have it on the outside. Tuptus looking for it. Does he have enough here? This is going to give Azier on the inside. Nothing doing. Tuptus all the way around. Back to the inside now for Tuptus. Through on Azier. A lot of traction on those mediums right now. But Azier with the push back. The DRS and utilization. Tight. A little bit of a bump for Tuptus into the wheel well of Azier. Tuptus back through into 3rd.
Well, you don't overtake the championship leader, Schiff, and expect him to just let you by. Azier really put Tuptus in for his money there, looking for the move back around the outside of 7. Never really expecting to get it done on 10-lap old hards, but he tried it anyway, and he fought, and, well, it hasn't worked out for him, but it would have slowed Tuptus down a little bit. And that's not good news for Tuptus, who's got that penalty, and he might be able to close that gap down to Eruption, Scars, both on 12-lap old hards. Obviously, Tuptus much closer to Eruption rather than the South African, but with that penalty, I don't know if he can extend a 3-second gap to the Mercedes. Doesn't mean he shouldn't try, though, because, of course, Eruption might find a 3-second penalty, might be hit with a penalty post-race. Tuptus has no idea what Eruption's race has been like, so it's always worth the push. Try and get as many places on track as you can. Penalties are, of course, applied after the race, so you've got to do everything you can on the track and leave nothing. Now, it's lap 26 we're on. Not too many laps to go. It's a long campaign. It always will be here at Singapore. And it's all to play for. Yellow flag. I think that's just the AlphaTauri of Mark letting people by. No damage on him, so I think it was. Jake calls it quits as well. He becomes the third retirement from this race.
Fortunate drive there in the end for Jake. And both Red Bulls here in this one, and hate to see it. Mammal. Sticking with John quite well. A little bit of a tire differential, no penalties on the pair of these drivers, and it's just a straight up fight for 6th as it stands. Actually, it's a straight up fight for a potential 5th position as Alp with that 6 seconds of penalties and the worn tires. I mean, he's going to be in a tough position at the end of this one should these drivers catch up to him.
Yeah, and if they're going fast enough, they could close the gap as well, of course, to Azir's penalty. So, still a podium on the cards for both of these races right now, but whether they keep it penalty free, it seems unlikely, of course. But, you know, it only takes Azir to pick up another 3 seconds. That makes it 6 seconds. And at that point, we're fighting for a potential 4th place. If Tuptus does the same, maybe even a podium. It's interesting. Still a lot of people in for a good run here around the streets of Singapore. Lap 27 now. We are really in those closing stages. About 10 minutes to go of racing. And Scars, well, he looks like the firm favorite, and he has done since this race began.
Like I said, came into this race with a different confidence. Confidence that I haven't seen from him yet this season, and right now it is showing that he was very well prepared for this race. John now, here goes Mammal, looking at the inside, nothing doing just yet, not enough of an opportunity.
I don't think he wants to waste his time for when, you know, he needs to just make this move once and he wants it to stick. He might wait till the last lap. He's also got very little ERS. Neither driver particularly has a lot here in Singapore. So both are struggling on that front, but he doesn't want to waste time battling him in the event that there are positions to be gained on penalties. He doesn't want to slow both of them down. And they could both sort of, they don't want to work together, of course, they're rivals right here, but they don't want to work against each other too much when they could be throwing away more points than they need. So he just wants to make this move cleanly, doesn't want to fight him for it. So we'll see how it weighs out, but I think the Racing Point, he's got the right idea right now, just sticking behind him, looking for the move if and when it opens up. Tuptus has crashed.
No, that is horrid news for the Racing Point. Oh!
Again.
That is not good at all.
He's staying out here because it's so late in the race. But here he is, getting out of the way of Crampy and Husam. It's all over for him.
That is
it's
very
all
bad
over.
luck. Very bad luck here for Tuptus in the Racing Point.
My oh my. Well, last week's race winner. He will not be winning this one, it would seem. I think it's fair to say.
Fair to say. Fair to say, Unicorn. That is tough. A long campaign around here, and when things occur and they go sideways that late in a race, it is hard.
Yeah, especially when you're on for such good points as well. And Johan is new here. You know, he hasn't been in too many races, and he's had such a strong start. You know, last week, his second full-time race, a pole position converted to a race win. If he'd have done that for 2 weeks in a row, you know, I think back to Iva Lepic coming on.
Yeah.
In what I believe is a Racing Point and just being absolutely incredible. And Tuptus, well, he was, and you know, even today it's been a strong drive for him. It's just so unfortunate to see it end in such dramatic form there. And well,
the European division
that
last season around Singapore took a 1-2 here. The European division. That was Felipic and Angel.
Well, Mammal, it's still on the rear of Jean, and where does this put them now? It is still P4, I think, provided that Azir hasn't picked up any other penalties. He hasn't. So it's still
with the retirement in the pit lane now. Darian Rackety wheel to wheel coming through the first sector here. Wheel to wheel. Rackety on the inside, back into 10th position for the moment. Darian on the mediums. Really wanted to get that point off of the Renault. Darian with the
still
DRS.
fighting.
Darian through, but he has that penalty, 3 seconds. Rackety could be on for a point here.
Mammal getting very close to the rear of Jean as they come through. Turn 13 onto the DRS straight. Is this the lap he makes the move? I don't think it will be. He's going to go around once more here. And he's only got a couple of laps left to make this move strip. And there's not too many overtaking points. Biding his time. And again, this is for P4 at the moment. Given Alt's penalties, both will get promoted as it stands.
What a race this has been. I'm just thinking back to how it started, and it's really been a solid campaign of racing around here. Such a strategical campaign. No safety cars. A few drivers now putting penalties into the mixture. But we've also had that drama in Top Tuss and that unfortunate crash that set himself out of this race. He's retired it in the pit lane after that unfortunate damage.
Yeah, strong race from him, but, you know, Mammal here in the other racing point. Still on for what could be P4. Obviously, he's only reserving scoring points for the Pirates, and, well, it wasn't too long ago since we saw Tupta scoring points for the Pirates before claiming the full-time seat over in the Racing Point squad. And I think, you know, they'll be happy to have him with the pace he's showing here. Obviously, not going to be able to gun it for the title, given how late he joined, but gives him a strong footing if he decides to, you know, race again next season. And I hope he does, because he's been exciting to watch so far. Particularly here, you know, taking that alternate strategy, it's always going to be a risk.
Yeah.
But to see someone try and make it work, you know, you love to see it. Larson, he's coming to the pits for softs, maybe trying to make fastest lap on the final go around. I don't think he's going to get it, unless he had a damage or a penalty or something.
Well, the driver in the spotlight all race long. The driver we talked about in qualifying as the potential race winner here, Scars. What a drive it's been for him. We're on the final lap of this race, ladies and gentlemen, and hats off to the South African, who is just coming home now on the final run to the line to take his race win around Singapore. Eruption, solid drive right now, 3.7 seconds behind Scars. In the Mercedes, it's these two drivers who are ready to go for a potential win.
Oh, he just about saved it there. But that was close. That was close to race ending. I think stewards are going to be having to have a look at that one afterwards, see who was doing what there. But that was his last chance, Jeff. That was his last chance.
I think you're right. He might have, well, John doesn't have fuel here. This could be a move. I don't know. I don't know. Does John have enough fuel?
Mammal's getting closer. They got Crampy behind them. Crampy's got penalties, so it doesn't really affect them. They've also pushed themselves.
There goes Scars with the race win in Singapore. Unicorn, the man has done it. And what a win it was. Eruption with the second place finish. Very nicely done from the Mercedes. Back to Mammal and Jean as they come through to the line. Azir will collect third. Alp rounding through 22 and 23. He will take fourth. Jean now. Mammal on the rear of him. Jean. Well, not sure what's happened there. Mammal fourth. Alp fifth. Jean sixth.
Jean didn't have a penalty on the
Yeah, I'm
timing
trying to
side, did
figure
he?
out what happened. I don't believe he had a penalty.
He's
Max
been
O'Connor.
demoted as if he had a 3 seconds.
Max O'Connor will finish 8th. What a race this was. Crampy in 9th, Rackety 10th. We have Darian Alfie just outside of the points. Pavel right behind him. The Ferrari's not having the best run today. XTXP 13th, Swifty 14th. Larson in 15th position. 16th for Markin. We'll see Swifty within a second range of XTXP here. Penalty is going to play a role, and it looks like Swifty might actually collect 13th as opposed to 14th if he doesn't take too many penalties by the end of his run.
And just to confirm, Jean is P4. It's just because he had a disconnect at some point, so the game has just sort of desynced him down to P6, but he did finish P4 in terms of after penalties applied. So P4 for Jean, P5 for Mammal, and P6 for Alp, I believe. Obviously, finalized standings will be posted after post-race penalties applied anyway in the Discord, so make sure you're in there if you want to have a look at all the live standings when they're updated, verdicts, etc. There he is, Scars taking P1 on the podium. The top step came in with a lot of confidence. And, well, it seems like it was well placed. He's not joined by his teammate, but I think that's fair to say. Crampy did a good drive considering the hand that was dealt to him. He was, he had a rough start and it didn't get any easier for him, but he managed to still bring home a couple of points for the Italian team. So I think, overall, Alfa Romeo, particularly in the fact that they're charging down the top spot in the drivers, they've already got the top spot of the constructors. They'll be happy that they're just holding on there, Striff.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very good championship through now as we approach round 22. This was, of course, the 16th round. Scars, the South African, from the front row to the race win, started in second. Just a consistent dominating drive from him today. Eruption, what a solid performance coming out of the Mercedes. 5th to 2nd. Azir, another strong drive. He took that 3-second penalty, but it did not lose him a podium today, and he went 7th to 3rd. So a very good drive. Mammal, 9th to 4th. We had Alp. He started in 4th, drops back to 5th. Jean, 8th to 6th. And we had Husam with his unfortunate issue with the disqualification in qualifying due to a block of the pit lane or some capacity. 20th to 7th. What a run for him. Max, 11th to 8th. Crampy, he started in 6th. He finishes 9th still to get that double points finish for the Alphas. And then it was Rackety for Renault. He started in 12th and he gets the single point for the squad, and he'll be collecting the thanks from Renault for sure. Darian Alfie, Pavel in the Ferraris, they were here, but they did not get themselves where they wanted to land. 3rd and 16th is where they started. They finished 11th and 12th respectively. Swifty, he started in that top 10, finishes 13th here. XTXP 14th. Larson 15th on this grid. And going down through the remaining drivers, we have Mark, Tuptus, Jake, Henners, and Aliens with us for this one. Tuptus, a very strong drive, a potential podium finisher in this one, and it was just an accident, a slip through the final stint of the race that saw him out of contention with the retirement in the pit lane at the end, and we'll have to see him try and bounce back next week in Russia. We'll have interviews in just a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, and of course a raid after that.
What a race that was. That was just, a lot of strategic battling there going on. It may not have all been on the track, but Tuptus's charge, both of them, when he pitted for the mediums both times, very, very impressive stuff. Scars as well, just controlled that race from the start. He came in, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, he needed to do, and he pulled it off pretty much flawlessly. I don't think he put a foot wrong so far. I think, you can say maybe not getting pole position is a bit of a problem in terms of, if you go for perfection, but given that, you don't score points for qualifying, and he did the P2 on a medium, it was a huge lap time for him. So I really can't fault that performance from, like you said, Eruption as well. Azir, the other two podium finishes both did very well to get there. Mammal as well as Jean. Jean, he had a great drive too. 8th to 4th, Mammal 9th to 5th.
Yeah, it was
so
great.
Very strong drives.
Very strong drives. Joining us for interviews, well, it's been quite often we've been talking to you lately, Azir. How are you feeling today about the P3 in Singapore? Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a vertical race. I did not expect to be on the podium after Tuk overtook me, but luckily I got in this track. Uh, we know this track is very difficult and very intensive. So any fail, you you must to be 100% concentrated, focus on the race, on the car, and yeah, I'm happy to be in the podium.
Definitely can't make any mistakes, and you had a very good drive. A little bit of an unfortunate penalty there, but it ended up working out so that you were able to collect a podium. Coming off of a track like Singapore, going to Russia, how are you feeling for Russia?
Russia is a track that I like so much, so I don't know. I want only to continue scoring some points for the team and for the championship, and maybe if I can, I I will take the win or a podium.
Well, it was a great drive today, and we hope to see more just like it. Congratulations, Azir, and good luck next week in Russia.
Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Azir. Now joining us is the second place finisher for Mercedes today, Eruption. How are you feeling after that race in Singapore, my friend?
God, I'm sweated all over me.
It was a long race, one of the longest races that there can be, 31 laps. So you managed to get yourself a podium. How does it feel after 31 laps, no safety car?
Yeah, it feels very great.
Were you expecting a
Like-
podium coming into this race?
Like, I don't know. I didn't expect the pace on Scars to be that fast. But the qualifying went quite okay. Could be a little bit faster, but yeah, I got P5 and then I saw some soft runners in front of me and then yeah, I thought, yeah, the podium is in.
Well, it was an amazing drive from you, a very consistent drive, very crucial. How did it feel to finish this race with no penalties?
Yeah, to be honest, I got 2 warnings, so yeah. Luckily, I didn't got the 3 seconds.
Thank you so much, Eruption, and again, congratulations on the second place finish here in Singapore.
Thanks.
That was Eruption, ladies and gentlemen, for Mercedes, and now it is time, and last but certainly not least, it's Scars, the South African driver, the Alfa Romeo. He started things on the front row. He had a potential for pole. He had it on pole until Tuptus, the soft runner, came through to snag it at the last minute. Scars, congratulations. Like he DC'd. There we go. Scars is back now, and just a massive congratulations to Scars in the Alfa Romeo, collecting a race win here. I'm going to hand things off to Unicorn as always, but from me to you, Scars, congrats. Unicorn, have at it.
Well, Scars, congratulations. It's the 4th week in a row on the podium. Your first win in a couple of weeks, but second win overall. It started to come together in the second half of the season. How was that one for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Qualifying went really well. Didn't expect to be P2 with the amount of people on soft, so that was really good. I already knew I had a good chance, and I think I really thought I was going to win the race after Tuptus pitted for mediums, and I had a pretty good gap behind. So it was kind of just not overdriving the car and not doing anything dumb. Just consistent laps, no mistakes, and I probably was going to be able to take it home.
Yeah, well, Steph said you came into this one with a lot of confidence. You execute the strategy pretty much flawlessly. Like you said, Tuptus risked it with the soft medium. Didn't work out for him. Had a crash in the later stages of that race. But you mentioned it there. You just seem to be, the favorite from the get-go. There never seemed to be a doubt in anyone's mind. Just so strong. Was there an extra level of practice this week that made you more confident in Singapore, or is it just one of your favorite tracks?
Well, first of all, on the practicing, I've barely done any practice for this race. I didn't have the time to, so I wasn't expecting a result like this, but yeah, it is one of my favorite tracks actually. Probably my second favorite track, but I love driving this track, so that's probably what aided me, and accommodated for the little amount of practice. But yeah.
Well, if this is what a little bit of practice does, I'm sure all of the other drivers on this grid will be very worried with a lot of practice. Russia next week, it's all coming into place now. You're really hunting down, obviously, Crampy. I think you might even be ahead of him now in terms of the standings after that one. But Azir as well for the top spot. How do you feel towards Russia in the later stages? There's not too many races left now in this season. How are you feeling towards Russia in the rest of the season?
Russia, honestly, apart from Russia, the rest of the season, when it comes to the track layouts, I'm pretty good on those. I like the track layouts after Russia. Russia isn't a track that I particularly like, the layout, no one really likes it. But I don't know if I'm fast on there. But particularly I don't like driving the track, honestly, so I don't know, it might not go well, but the rest of the season, the track's looking pretty good.
Well, I'm sure everyone in, watching along at home is very excited to see how you go in terms of that charge for the championship, because it's really on now. And with not too many races left, it's going to be a very, very exciting battle. But Scars, as always, thank you so much for coming and taking the time out to interview here in the commentary booth. And I'm sure it won't be long until we see you once again.
Cheers. Cheers, boys.
What a race that was, Unicorn. What a race that was, and just thrilling race to set the bar for tomorrow. Of course, we've got Tier 1 action coming back. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. British Summer Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here on twitch.tv Misfits RL. That is going to wrap up the coverage for this evening's racing action. My name's Strifium here from Canada. Unicorn joining me from the UK. And, well, now we have 4 races to set ourselves up for Tier 1 tomorrow in the Tier 2 Americas. We had Tier 3, Tier 1 Americas, and now Tier 2, all of the races on the YouTube channel. Just so much racing action, and I wonder if tomorrow will be the day for the rain, realistically. But of course, that is it from us. Massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out via the link in the chat, and of course the panels down below, or wherever you may be able to find them on social media. We're going to get some more links for you guys soon for their amazing Instagram. But it's going to be a great race tomorrow as well, Unicorn. And I think that one really did set the bar.
Yeah, strategy. It's going to be crucial, here, but in qualifying in Tier 1, we always see that one very, very tight. So it's one to look forward to, that's for sure. But that's it from us. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Like Striff said, for Tier 1 action. But until then, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.